system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills. That actually increases the money supply.
Financial Turmoil Explained.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this September 7th, 2022, a Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little story. So there's this young fella, and he created this rocket in his basement. Model rocket, and it was big one, great big one. He learned online how to make all of his own propulsion system for it and everything. He was into rocketry, really big time, And he envisioned in his mind, this thing flying way up into the heavens with a streaming tail behind it. It was going to be the most wonderful, glorious thing when he got it built while he was building it in his basement. In fact, he was so excited about what he was doing as he was putting it together on this big bench table, he gets so enthused about thinking about what the rocket was going to do and how great and glorious this was going to be on the launch day, and it's picked his birthday to have the launch day. He's going to launch this rocket and everything, right? And so while he was putting it together, he got so excited about building it and so excited about what he was doing that he'd forget to eat his supper, and he'd go to bed hungry that night because he's just too much into working on this thing. Every evening he'd come home from work, young guy, and he'd work on this rocket, way late into the evening and everything. Finally, he got it done, on launch day. He's going to be his birthday and everything. He got all of his friends there and everything, and to watch the launch, and they all parked down at an empty field in the middle of nowhere. And they were all parked there, about 4 or 5 cars, and they were all there, and everybody was cheering him on and everything else. And so he had the rocket way off in the field, and he had this long cord going up to his car, and he was going to launch it from the safety of his car. So he gets inside his car, and he's sitting there, and all of his friends are like standing around watching and stuff too from a safe distance, and he's got this electronic trigger where he pushes the button and the thing launches. That's the trigger that's going to make it go. So he pushes the button, and sure enough, push, the smoke comes out of the bottom of the rocket, and the rocket starts to rise off the launch pad, and it's going up and up and up, and he's just so enthused. This is so wonderful, what I've done with pushing this button, all this work and for all this accomplishment to this one moment when it's going to be launched, and this rocket's going to go into space. So the rocket proceeds to go up and up and up, and then it starts to turn in the air. And it turns and it turns and it turns, and now the rocket's going sideways, and it's heading toward the group of people that are some maybe 400 meters away at a safe distance. And it comes right down, heads toward his car, and boom, it comes right in through his front windshield inside the car, and it proceeds to explode and blow the car to bits. Nothing left of it. And all of his friends are standing there in shock and awe. They're like, I can't believe what they've just witnessed. Oh my gosh. Right? Well, be careful what you wish for. It's an old saying. Be careful what you wish for, and be careful what you work toward. Things that you work toward. Now, I'm going to tell you what, the World Economic Forum, some 4,000 members wide around the world in positions of power, are working towards something. Working towards something big. And their plan is to have some sort of a world where we don't use cash anymore, a cashless society, and the minority rules the majority, basically with an iron fist and everything else. But what I see really happening is the rocket is starting to turn off course. And the problem with this with this rocket turning off course is the people out there. We've had people around the world who have been somewhat contented slaves around the world. because they've had a little piece of the pie. Through all of my lifetime, everybody out there has always had a little piece of the pie. It means we can serve dinner on our table. It's not crickets and bugs. We can serve dinner on our table. We can even have a steak now and then again, We can afford to drive a used car, most of us, We can afford to, in other words, we have a little piece of the pie. Generally, we have a house. We have our house. And we're fairly contented slaves. The problem is that now that this rocket's been launched, more and more the slaves are becoming discontented. And to get from point A to point B, in other words, from the rocket to get from the ground to get up into space, it has to go straight. This rocket's starting to turn off course. And what's turning it off course is the discontentment amongst the people. And there's going to be a lot more discontentment coming. The people that it hasn't affected, it's affected everybody a little bit so far, but we still have our little piece of the pie. Most of us are still able to put dinner on the table. Well, for a majority of the people, and you ever heard the old saying, majority rules? For the majority of the people out there, there's going to come a point where they can't put food on the table any longer. You've never seen anger before in your life until you've seen the anger of the people when they can't stay warm in the winter and they can't put food on the table any longer. You've never seen anger before. And, an awful lot of these people are going to be looking for somebody to blame. All I can say is run for the hills. Because you've never seen anger until you've seen the anger of the people flare up. And this is a very serious situation. So, at any rate, let's get in there and let's take a look at some of the problems we got out here right now. The Ukraine war. Uncertainty on what may happen next and how it could further escalate and otherwise remain a long-term barrier to growth. We have the energy spike and energy insecurity. A massive light bulb moment for governments, with the threat of economies being destroyed by the rise in energy costs. Power outages and energy rationing are set to cripple Europe, apparently. We have embedded inflation and rising social discontent. Now, see, that's what I was just talking about, is this rise of social discontent. You're just seeing the tip of the iceberg right now. And, of course, it's very controllable because it's only the tip of the iceberg. Governments can send out their goons to crush any discontent on a massive scale. But what about when the currency starts to not work anymore? And so these government employees, whether they be any form of these goons that the government has been hiring to accomplish their tasks for them, if the currency doesn't work anymore, they're just going to say, oh, hey, you know what? I'm not getting paid enough to do this. I'm not getting paid enough to go out there with a big shield in front of me and dress like Darth Vader and get out there and be spit on, have rocks thrown at me, and we launched tear gas at them and they launched the tear gas back at us, and my eyes are streaming. I'm not getting paid enough for this in this new currency because this new currency is practically worthless. I can't even feed my family myself. And the next thing you're going to see is them switching sides. Yeah. When the mobs gets too big for them, that's what always happens. They switch sides. They know when they're outnumbered at a certain point. They know when it's useless. And see, we haven't seen that yet because we're still on the tip of the iceberg. The iceberg is down beneath the water, and it's going to reveal itself as the liquidity dries up. In other words, they're taking our piece of the pie, the middle-class people. They're taking it away from us. They're robbing it from us. Slowly but surely, but it's going to be a lot quicker now. And this is all part of the plan. Didn't they say you'll have nothing? Well, how's that going to work? How are you even going to feed yourself with nothing? Well, maybe they don't expect you to feed yourself. I just don't know what the plan is, really. But anyway, we got this. It says embedded inflation, rising social discontent on the back of wage and inflationary pressures. Increasing discord is expected across Europe. Ongoing supply chain disorder. China no longer exports deflation through cheap goods, while key strategic products, including chips, remain scarce. Geopolitical instability. Political instability. Here. We've got an unraveling of... Okay, where is it here? An unraveling of the massive stock and bond market. We got an unraveling. Massive stock and bond market distortions. Oh my goodness, I could go on and on about that. That's what I talk about on my channel a lot. 14 years of monetary experimentation. Oh, they're talking about since 2008. Actually, it goes back longer than that. Inflation, and more inflation we got coming. Consumer cost of living crisis, hitting debt sustainability. Central banks hiking interest rates to combat inflation, even as governments are splurging on physical rescues, and the rising risk of recession and stagflation. So we got all these problems coming at us, and the solution that they're offering is something that's so distasteful to the average citizen. But the average citizen out there, as long as they got a piece of the pie, they're not really going to discover the solutions that they're offering. And when they do discover the solutions that they're offering, talk about anger. And they're going to discover it as they get squeezed tighter and tighter. They're going to say, hey, what's up? How come I'm still working at my job, but I can't, not only can I not get ahead, but I'm going behind every month. And what's up with this? And who's responsible for this? And then they're going to go on some forum someplace, and they're going to find out who's responsible for it, and they're going to be smoke coming out of their ears. They're going to be so mad. Their face is going to turn red, and they're going to say, this is why I am having trouble putting food on the table, and my kids are going hungry? This is why? And they're going to join their friends, and they're going to join their neighbors in knowing what's going on. Anyway, let's get in there and take a look at the markets today. 32 cents up for silver at 18.33. Well, it's up a little bit today, isn't it? What's gold doing? Gold, 17.13. It's up $11.30 on the day so far. Let's take a look at cryptos. The cryptos are down 946 billions, so it's under $1 trillion. And we're looking at a Bitcoin price of 18,922. Sad, really. But the floor, I'll tell you where the floor is for Bitcoin. The floor. The absolute floor. Even through all this crisis and everything else, the absolute floor, I think, this is my opinion only, so don't take it to the bank. It's just my opinion on what the floor is of Bitcoin, around 6,500. I know, that hurts to hear that, but I'm just being honest with you guys, what I think the floor is, because we're going to go through this turbulence. But what do I think the high side of Bitcoin is, ultimately, where it could go? Well, Bitcoin's either going to make it or it's not. And I think it's going to make it pretty big, really bigger than big, possibly. And, you know, I mean, you would only have to have just a tiny, tiny fraction of one Bitcoin would be enough to retire on. Whereas, if you've got dollars, I read an article this morning that says you got to have $1.7 million to retire now. So, I mean, just think about that for a minute. And what's it going to be as the inflation gets worse? 5 million, 50 million, 100 million, or it might even get to the point where you have to have $1 billion just to retire, have an average retirement. Because when you go to the grocery store, the price of an apple is $100. This is where we're headed. And it's going to get there fast, because if you think for 1 minute that they're just going to let this whole system collapse, and that would knock them out of their ivory tower, and they would fall into the crowd, the mob, then it wouldn't go so well for them if they let the system completely collapse, because what we'd be talking about is a Mad Max world. In fact, humanity probably wouldn't survive a complete and utter collapse of the financial system. around the world. If the whole worldwide financial system collapsed, I don't know if mankind would even survive it. That's how bad it would be. And of course, these ones in power, they would be the first to go once the crowd got a hold of them. You think they're going to let that happen? Not as long as they've got breath in their lungs, they ain't going to let it happen. They're going to get out there and they're going to support this system with money. They got a printing press. They can print as much, well, they can make as much as they want. So you think they're not going to do it? This is just a temporary thing that's going on right now with them tightening and everything. As long as the markets don't go down too much and things don't get too nasty, they'll just keep on tightening. And that's what they're doing. But they're going to keep tightening into weakness until the market does slide off, and then they're going to change direction. Wait for it. Just wait for it. You got to be patient, guys. You got to be patient. It's coming. If you can buy into the market at the time when it's at its lowest, just before they turn, then you'll do okay, I think. My opinion only, you know. So I'm not ruling equities out. Equities could be a big payday. Why would I rule it out? I'm not going to rule it out. It's just that you got to know when to buy equities. You just can't buy willy-nilly. Like, you know, buy anytime you want to. If you're a real investor. I mean, if you're just one guy that's got money to burn, yeah, go right on ahead. You know, you remember that cartoon, Bugs Bunny cartoon, where Bugs Bunny, something that had money to burn, and they had this big pot of money and they kept throwing it into the stove or whatever. I remember that cartoon. That was a good one. Anyway, I think it was an old lady, and she's sitting in a rocking chair, and she had money to burn. She had this big pile of money, and every once in a while she'd dip the rocking chair forward and grab one of the big bundles of bills and throw it into the fire to warm herself. Money to burn, it said, you know. Anyway, getting on with things, let's take a look at the Dow Jones today. It's up 267 points on the day so far. We got a little bounce happening right now, 247 on the day so far. But you know the Fed's going to come in again, and they're going to jack the interest rate up another three quarters, well, another 75 basis points this month. Plus, they're drawing $95 billion of liquidity out of the system this month and next month too. That's going to add up fast. That's going to sink things really fast. But I don't think it's going to sink things this month. I think next month is the month to watch out for, because that's what this is see, why I'm saying that is this is a compounding effect. All these months put together, they raised 3/4 basis points, and then another 3/4, and another 3/4, and whatever, and a half, and they keep raising the interest rate at the same time they keep drawing money out of the system. It's a compounding thing. It doesn't strike until it strikes, and then it strikes fast. And I'm thinking October it's going to strike, maybe November. See how far they can get. See, they've gotten farther than I thought they were going to get already. It surprises me how far they've gotten already. Let's take a look at crude oil. Crude oil's down $3.31. Part of this might be demand destruction already. You know, I mean, prices are high around the world for oil. People start to say, hey, you know, I'm not going to drive my whatever vehicle that's really hard on gas. Chevy Blazer or whatever. I'm not going to drive that today. I'm going to get on my electric bicycle today and go to work. You know? And that's called demand destruction. And that's what they do. And if the price of oil goes too high, it's demand destruction. People start to cut back all the way around on how much oil they consume. And so this could be actually, I don't think right now it's demand destruction so much, but I think it will be ultimately. I think people are going to find depending on how high it goes. It has to go a bit higher than what it is right now. Oil will probably have to get up around $200 a barrel for you to have serious demand destruction. I don't think we're there yet at 85.57. Move index today, 33.54, and it's up today a little bit. This is your credit markets. Now we're going to take a look at bonds and rates. And we're seeing, this is what we've been seeing. We've been seeing one day up and one day down. But the up days is higher than the down days. The down days around 4 basis points. I think it was like 14 basis points there, the up day, And so we've been seeing them rise. The 10-year is now 3.29, well above my 3.25 as I was talking about. But, how much can the markets take? This keeps rising, and I think it's going to. Let's take a look now at the U.S. dollar index, and we're looking at 110.15. It's basically going along sideways today. Okay, guys, thank you for listening to my show. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. You guys have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.